The blast apparently occurred about 3:30 a.m. A Macomb police officer said he passed by the house as late as 3 a.m. and everything was normal. The explosive, nobody knows what kind or how much, was apparently placed up against the house or rolled up against the house, and when it went off, this is the damage it did. It turned the corner of the brick foundation in, tore out a sectional window placed in front of the under the eave. A car parked in the driveway just 6 or 8 feet from the carport had its windshield shattered by the force of the blast. All in all, there were 10 COFO staff workers inside the house at the time of the explosion. 3 of them, boys, were in this carport converted bedroom. And it's amazing that only one was injured. He was Curtis Hayes, a 22-year-old Negro from Mississippi.
When I woke up, semi-woke up or something like that, I was lying on the floor by the bed. The bed had been torn apart, and the mattresses were on the floor. And the drapes from the window that was parallel to my bed was lying across my feet, and some of the boards and glass was there. And all I could see was the car outside, and for a moment I thought the car, semi-conscious, was thinking that the car had hit me, and that's why I was lying there. And then I finally figured out that something had happened to the house, and I was bleeding.
Several teams of FBI agents have come into the area, and they've been interviewing the occupants of the house. If there are any clues to the bombing, no one is saying anything yet. This is CBS News correspondent Lou Wood in Macomb, Mississippi.
You travel this road every day?
Same time.
What time every day do you usually travel this road?
I leave the Indian Hospital about 12:30.
And last Monday, when you passed here at 12:30, did you notice a car on fire out to your left?
Well, I tell you what I was doing. I was looking this way, and I don't know whether it was Monday or whether it was Tuesday. I tried my best to remember. But I smelled something and thought it was my car. See? Getting hot because I got a burnt valve, and I got up and I stopped. But I didn't look over that way. I don't know why. The other time, if it was any, I believe if it had been a burning bright, I would have seen it just like out of the corner of my eye.
Any man in Neshoba County who would lift up his hand to attack anyone in the county, any individual, or to burn any church or destroy any property because of a difference of opinion or in any other way except in the necessary defense of his own person was of the same ilk and stripe as was Lee Oswald, whom we all considered a crackpot. Now the reason I'm saying this is to say that when I had finished with the message of the morning, I was greeted with an overwhelming, unanimous, affirmative response to this statement. This is the way my people feel. This is the way the people of Philadelphia feel, by and large, with what we believe definitely to be, what we know to be, some rare exceptions.
Neshoba County?
The people in Philadelphia and Neshoba County are just like people anywhere else in the United States, in a town of our size and in a community like this. Most of our people come from a rural background, and this is the largest city in the county, in fact, the only incorporated town in the county. But the people here are just like the people anywhere else that you find them in the United States. And we feel really that we're no different from anyone else from that point of view.
But yesterday, in your sermon, you said that you felt that the people of this area were being unjustly maligned because of this case here of the 3 missing civil rights workers. What about that?
I think I cited the case of the assassination of President Kennedy in Dallas and stated that the people of Dallas were accused in many instances across the nation as a corporate group, and because there was one crackpot among them, they were all considered vicious and adjudged guilty of crime. We feel the same way about the situation that has arisen here. We feel that because there are a few people here among us who evidently are not in good faith and evidently are in violation of the laws of the land, that we ourselves, everyone, is being accused of the same sort of thing. And we are also accused of not protecting these people who come into our state. And if the Secret Service of the United States could not protect the President of the United States from a crackpot, neither do we feel that we as a people can protect anyone who comes among us from crackpots, for there is no real protection against such people.
You think in the county at large there are some few who might be given to a deed like that?
I think there are a few people in the county who would do a thing like that. I think that they do not represent the people of the county, and this is another point at which we have strong feeling of resentment. We're being characterized by the few people in the county. One reason why this report got out was the fact that the statements of some of our people were distorted and taken out of context in newspaper reports and in other reports, and what the people actually said was twisted around so that it did not come out at all like it was said. So many of the people have decided that rather than to have any statement that they make twisted out of context and misrepresent what they say, they'd rather not say anything at all.
There seems to be a reluctance on the part of a lot of people to talk and express their views. Is that the reason?
I think it's the primary reason, yes, sir. They feel like that this situation has not been given objective treatment from the standpoint of actually stating what has been stated in its proper context.
What do most folks in your congregation, Pastor, feel about this whole case that is going on here now? What really took place, do they think?
Thank you.
We had that bus. Now, just when I nod, just go ahead.
Okay. Yesterday, I said to my congregation that Thank you, sir. It's been a privilege.
I got up and walked out to the kitchen, and there everyone was on the floor, lying on the floor. About 5 people were lying on the floor. And so I figured, I was still sort of dazed, and I figured that I should get on the floor too, and that's what I did. And when I got sort of straight, I crawled over to the telephone and dialed the operator, because that was the only number I could think of right then. And I couldn't figure out what I wanted to say to the operator, so I handed the receiver to George Green, and he asked for the police. And during the time George was talking to the operator, a Negro, one of the Negro police they have there, walked in the door and was hollering what happened. He was calling for Mrs. Cotton, who the house belongs to. And we let him in, and about 4 or 5 minutes later, the fire department showed up, and then the city police showed up. They just sat around and asked questions about what happened and looked around and stuff. And after it got daylight, we went outside and looked, and we saw this, there was just one big hole right out next to the window. And it was three containers that we thought contained the bombs or whatever they were. And our feeling was that they were there together. Even if they were thrown, they had to be thrown in something together so that they land. This hole was about 16 inches in diameter and about 8 to 10 inches deep in a concrete driveway. And the front part of the house is about, I guess, about 30 feet or 40 feet across. And the north half, on the end where the bomb was, all of the windows was broken, and windows were broken in the block, in street, in houses in the whole block, across the street and up the street. That whole front end of that basement, the whole front end of that room, this room was covered by the front, by a long window. And the whole window was blown completely out. Everything, you know, every little fragment that stood was blown out. And the car was parked about 6 feet from the window. And the windshield on the car was shattered to pieces. And I guess that was about it.
What about injuries?
Well, I got glass in me, got glass cuts rather, sort of all over on my right side, the side that was lying toward the window, from my face down to my ankle. And some, you know, little minor cuts.
How many others were injured?
Dennis Swinner, I think, was injured on the shoulder. The cut was on his shoulder. And George picked a couple of pieces of glass out of his arm when we were coming up after daylight sometimes. And we were all three sleeping in the same room.
Curtis, had you received any threats down there?
Well, I had only been there 4 days, and we haven't received any direct threats. We have only had the phone, I guess, about a week. No one knows the number, and we haven't gotten anything through phone calls. We've been working primarily in the Negro community, completely in the Negro community. And we haven't. No, we haven't.
Did the incident change your mind about the program at all?
No, it's going to go on.
How about the others?
I don't think it changed anyone's mind about the program, no. Just think that everyone feel that it's, you know, that it's going to go on anyway. Yes.
All through the sound, can we get the air conditioning back on?
Yeah.
Break down, right?
We have organized into the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. We are holding a freedom registration drive throughout the state, encouraging every Negro and white who wants a stake in his political future to prove it by getting his name on a freedom registration book. We have scheduled precinct meetings and district caucuses, and on August 6th, here in Jackson, we will hold our state convention. At that time, we will elect a slate of delegates to the National Convention in Atlantic City. And when that convention meets, we will present ourselves for seating as the only democratically constituted body of Mississippi citizens worthy of taking part in that convention's business. What our reception will be is up to those hundreds of persons from across the country who have honored the party principles and who, though disturbed, have done nothing about the defection of the Dixie delegations. Part of the answer to how we will be received, we feel, is contained in the support for seating our delegation, which has come from the Michigan State Democratic Convention, from Minnesota, Wisconsin, from Oregon, New York, California, and Colorado.
Well, they've done that every time. They never get anywhere with that. They've tried it and tried it and tried it.
They appear to be making their most serious effort to unseat
Yes,
the delegation.
yes. Well, they'll do that. There are a lot of people that stay awake at night trying to figure out how they can embarrass the South.
Do you think that Senator Goldwater will get a considerable amount of Democratic support here in the South and in Mississippi?
Yes, sir, he will.
You yourself said once that if it were a choice between President Johnson and Goldwater, you'd vote for Goldwater. Does that hold true?
That holds true today, and I hope it'll continue to hold true. I just think that I couldn't vote for Mr. Johnson.